The house creaked with the cold night wind, a ghostly lament that accompanied me as I ventured through the empty rooms. Loneliness weighed on my shoulders like a leaden cloak, and each step echoed sinisterly in the silence. My parents went away on business, leaving me alone at the age of 16. At first, the idea of having the whole house to myself was exciting. I imagined nights of games and movies, devouring pizza, and not having to listen to scoldings. But the reality was very different. A growing terror consumed me. I felt as if I was being watched, every movement watched by invisible eyes. Shadows danced on the walls, and the sounds of the house that were once familiar became macabre whispers. That night the nightmare became reality. A sinister figure materialized in the hallway, a tall, slender humanoid form with long limbs that bent at impossible angles. Its eyes were two black slits that glowed with an unearthly light. I froze, paralyzed by fear, unable to move a single muscle. The creature slowly advanced, shuffling its bare feet across the wooden floor. A guttural groan emanated from its throat, a sound that froze my blood. In a last act of desperation, I ran to my room and locked myself inside. Panting, I leaned against the door, my heart beating wildly. On the other side, the creature scratched the wood with its sharp claws. Howling in frustration, the night dragged on like an eternity. I settled myself on the floor, shivering with cold and fear as the creature continued its macabre vigil. At dawn, the figure finally dissolved, leaving only a trail of terror in its wake. I staggered to my feet and opened the door cautiously. The house was empty, as if the previous night had been just a terrible nightmare. But I knew it wasn't. The creature was real, and I saw it with my own eyes. What it was, and where it came from, I would never know. But one thing was certain, and I would never forget: the night I found myself alone in the house, a face of horror. What terrifies me the most to this day is not the creature's bizarre shape, but the feeling that it is still out there somewhere, waiting for the next opportunity to attack me. Each night, when the lights go out and the house becomes a maze of shadows, fear consumes me again, and I know that at any moment the sinister wraith could materialize again, dragging me into a world of darkness and terror. Days turned into weeks, and paranoia set in. I locked all the doors and windows with extra padlocks, turning the house into a precarious fortress. Any night noise made me jump out of bed, my heart hammering against my ribs. I began to hallucinate, seeing figures sneaking out of the corners of my eyes. I heard whispers in strange languages coming from behind the walls. My sleep became fragmented, tormented by vivid nightmares of the creature. One night, waking up with a start, I noticed something different. A strange symbol was scrawled on the wall of my room, drawn with a black and oily material that I didn't recognize. It was a web of lines and circles, pulsing with a faint and nauseating light. Panic overcame me. The creature wasn't just chasing me, it was marking me. It was a warning, a harbinger of something terrible was coming. Consumed by fear, I began to research the symbol online. Sleepless nights were spent scouring obscure forums and digital libraries, but found nothing. The symbol seemed to exist only in my terror-twisted reality. Then I found an old bookseller in a lower part of town. The place smelled of mold and old parchment, and the owner, a skinny man with sunken eyes, seemed to carry the weight of dark secrets. I showed him the symbol drawn on a piece of paper. His eyes widened, and he staggered back as if he had been punched in the stomach. This, he whispered hoarsely, this is the mark of a soul eater. According to the old bookseller, soul eaters were ancient entities that fed on fear and human misery. They hunted the lonely, the vulnerable, those who emitted a frequency of terror that attracted them like a moth light by marking its prey. The Soul Eater established a connection, becoming stronger and stronger with the victim's fear. It was a slow and sadistic process, like a carnivorous plant slowly digesting its prey. The only way to break the connection, the bookseller told me, was to face the creature. I had to face my fear, no matter how terrifying it was. He gave me a darkened bone amulet, saying it could offer some protection, but true strength came from within. That night I prepared myself for the final battle, armed with amulet and a courage born of desperation. I waited for the creature to emerge from the shadows, and it did. The figure materialized in my room, the bizarre form even more grotesque than before. But this time I didn't run. I took a deep breath. I closed my eyes and screamed. I screamed with all the strength I had in my lungs, releasing the rage and terror that had consumed me for weeks. When I opened my eyes, the creature staggered back as if my scream had physically injured it. The Symbol on the wall pulsed with a more intense light, but now emanated a sensation of pain. I continued screaming, channeling all my fear into fury. The creature screeched a high-pitched and deafening sound and slowly began to dissolve. The symbol on the wall turned black as coal, then disappeared. It fell apart. When silence finally returned, I collapsed to the floor exhausted and shaking. The creature was gone, at least for now, but I knew the experience would change me forever. I will never be the same. Now I carry within me the weight of terror and the knowledge that there are horrible things that lurk in the shadows waiting to devour the lonely and the vulnerable. The relief was fleeting. Yes, the creature was gone, the symbol was gone, but the paranoia remained like a shadow clinging to me. I put the amulet in my pocket, a fragile reminder of my precarious victory. Days turned into weeks, and the stillness of the house never felt safe again. Every rustle, every creak of the floor made me jump, but what disturbed me most was the feeling of being watched. One morning as I was making coffee, I felt a chill run down my spine. I slowly turned to the kitchen window, and for a brief moment I swear I saw a distorted figure reflected in the glass. But when my gaze focused, the image disappeared. I dropped the cup. The hot liquid spilled across the floor. I took a deep breath, trying to convince myself that it was just a reflection of the light, a trick of my traumatized mind. I looked at the window, straining my eyes, and then I saw the symbol, not on the wall, but discreetly scratched in the lower corner of the glass, almost imperceptible. But what made my blood run cold was not the symbol itself, but what was written just below in tiny, distorted letters. Next time it will be by